This is another in a series of interviews of senior members of the Shreveport Bar Association aimed at capturing and preserving some of the history of the practice of law in the Shreveport area during the past half century. This interview is a special project of the Archives Committee of the Shreveport Bar Association during the continuing celebration of the bicentennial year of the United States Constitution. Today's interviewee is Mr. Wellborn Jack Sr., a native of Shreveport, now in his 81st year and completing his 56th year of the active practice of law in Shreveport. Mr. Jack is one of our best-known members. I am Henry Polides, a member of the Shreveport Bar, and I presently serve as a judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. Prior to donning the robe, I practiced law in Shreveport for just over 20 years, first as an associate and then as a partner in the firm of Booth, Lockett, Jack, Pleasant, and Lesage. The Bar Association has given me the privilege of visiting today with Mr. Jack to reminisce about a half century in the practice of law here in our area. Mr. Jack, I express to you the appreciation of the Shreveport Bar Association, both present and future members, and also the appreciation of all of those who may view this tape for agreeing to share with us your experiences, those experiences being a notable part of the color of the practice of law in Shreveport since pre-World War II. Pre-World War II. Why don't we start by your giving us a brief reflection on your family, on your parents and your grandparents, and where you were born, what they did, and so this audience will know how many generations of law we're talking about.
Judge Polides, I'm delighted to be here and go into this. Now, this is a very interesting thing. My grandfather, Jack, was Colonel William Houston Jack from Natchitoches. Now, he had 15 children by his first wife. She died. Then he had 5 by the second. She died. Then he was getting old and married again, none by that. Now, he told all of his children, don't be a lawyer just because I am. In spite of that, 5 of those boys became lawyers. Now, one of those was my father. Now,
his name?
George Whitfield Jack was my father. Now, my father told all of us 3 boys, don't be a lawyer just because your father's a lawyer. In spite of that, 2 of the 3 of us are lawyers.
That's you?
That's Whitfield, Jack, and myself.
My former law partner, Whitfield,
that's right.
And yourself.
That's right.
Your grandfather's name was?
Colonel William Houston Jack.
William Houston.
Yeah.
All right.
We're kin to Sam Houston. That's why that comes in there.
All right, sir.
Now, my brother, he has 3 boys, and he told them, don't be a lawyer just because I am. In spite of that, 2 of them are lawyers.
And both practice?
Both practice. And one out in the state of Washington and the other in San Francisco. I have one boy, and I told him, don't be a lawyer, but he did in spite of it. So that is kind of interesting.
We're talking about 4 generations of lawyers.
That's right, that's right.
And judges in how many of those generations?
I had no desire to be a judge, except there'd been one judgeship I would have liked. If we had had, at that time, State Court of Appeals for criminal cases only, I'd love that. But the way laws got so messed up and all, without going into details, I wouldn't want that even now. But I would at one time. Now, my father was the federal judge, second federal judge for the Western District of Louisiana. That covered everything west of the Mississippi. I believe it was Judge Borland, wasn't he, the first one?
That's correct.
And he was on there about 30 years, and then when he died, Woodrow Wilson appointed my father. Now, it was very interesting about my father. He was the 14th of these 15 children by his father's first marriage. Now, my father's oldest sister married Judge Hall, who's was the grandfather of the present Pike Hall Jr. that's on the Court of
Pike
Appeals.
Hall Jr., president, the chief judge of the Second Circuit Court of Appeals.
That's right.
His father was a state senator, Senator Hall.
That's right.
And his father's father was a judge?
That's right. Old Judge Hall, we referred to him. Now, he told my father that if he would take him in as a partner if he wanted to practice. See, Judge Hall was a judge down in DeSoto, and a lot older than my father. So my father told him he would be delighted to. So that's how they formed the firm of Hall and Jack. And
so this would go back before World War I.
Oh yeah. I was just a child.
I understand that you were very active in athletics in high school.
Yeah, I lettered in at Shreveport High in football, baseball, basketball, and tennis.
You have any time for studying?
Oh yeah. I did this in studying. I always figured the best thing for a person to be a good student was to continually in school. Oh, I'm messing up here somewhere.
When you graduated from high school, did you go immediately into college, or did you go to work?
Well, I'll tell you, when I finished high school, I didn't go to work right then because I had some illnesses and different things.
I recall a tale about, and I'm wondering if it's true, about your being a seaman for a while.
Yeah, I worked on boats and went on a German boat. I worked out of Houston, Texas, and went to Rotterdam.
How long did you do that?
It took 23 days to get across.
And your seaman service lasted how long?
Well, I was I've had papers as ordinary seaman. I got those out of Houston. I'd gone down there to the Democratic Convention and was an assistant sergeant at arms.
What year was that?
That was 1928 when Al Smith was
elected nominee. Was that your introduction to politics? The 1928 Democratic Convention in Houston?
That was my real one, but I always liked politics.
Well, that's obviously so, and we'll talk about that in the course of our discussions this afternoon about your long and distinguished political career. But first, your education. I found quite interesting that you went from one coast to the other coast.
That's right.
In college.
That's right.
Now, first, where did you take your undergraduate work?
Well, I went to Centenary for 1 quarter, and I got sick and I had to have my tonsils out and all, so I dropped out. And so I just decided what I'd do is not try to go there. And so I didn't go to college till later on.
After your time as a seaman.
Yeah.
And what college did you go to?
Well, I had gone as a kid to those summer camps, pay camps, up in North Carolina around Hendersonville. And we had counselors that came from different colleges. And the best ones came from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. That's why I went to University of North Carolina, up at Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
And you took your undergraduate degree there?
No. I got double pneumonia and wet pleurisy after my sophomore year. And they didn't have anything to kill the germs. And so I was in the hospital there. They had a 42-bed hospital at the university. But I got my fraternity brothers to take me and another boy, Harry Young, over to Durham to the hospital. And there was another boy in there with us. Now, I got on that, out to the car with my fraternity brothers, and Harry Young. The last I remember was that I just sitting there and it just leaned back, and that's all. Next thing I woke up was I looked around, and I was in a bed, and I looked down at the foot of it. It had my name, and it said double pneumonia and wet pleurisy. I'd never heard of wet pleurisy. I'd heard of pneumonia, of course. I looked at the next bed by me, and there was Harry Young waking up. And we were in that hospital. It was 30 days.
I take it then you didn't finish at the University of North Carolina.
No, I
came back home.
Went over to that big tuberculosis place to be sure I didn't contract tuberculosis. We discovered Harry Young, who had been 3 feet from my bed for 30 days, had tuberculosis, but I didn't, and so that was a godsend to me. Now, I told my fraternity brothers, and this is an interesting thing, that I was going home and not coming back. And they said, well, Wellborn, you ought to come on back. And I said, no, I tell you, I'm afraid of that, and I'm not going to do it. And I said, I feel sorry for y'all, because this climate's terrible up here. You all not going to live long as I am. I got plumb all right. Now, I didn't go back up there anymore till 1975. When I went up there, I read about the 200th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Did you ever hear that?
The Mecklenburg Declaration?
Yeah, that's from Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. The county seat is whatever the town, Charlotte, North Carolina. It was called Charlottesville then. Now, what happened that in 75, the Mecklenburg County, Patrick Jack, from whom I'm descended, and his 2 brothers had come over from Ireland. Now, Patrick Jack was a wealthy man, owned a big tavern, and one of his sons, he had a whole bunch of them, was Captain Jack, and he's the one that I defended from. He was 42 years old when they had the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence, and Patrick Jack rode horseback from Charlottetown, which is now Charlottesville, North Carolina, all the way to the Continental Congress at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and delivered the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence with these delegates that met there at Patrick Jack's tavern.
Declared its independence from England a year before the Declaration?
A year before.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
Well, lots of people haven't. Well, we read about it.
And you went back for that celebration?
Yeah, we read about it in Southern Comfort. And I wrote the Chamber of Commerce asking them to tell me all about it, and I didn't hear from them. But Sue and I, that's my wife, we flew up there anyway. And we came out to the first meeting. It lasted 3 days. It was great.
Right.
And when they asked people to sign the ledger and the ledger and give their names and stand up, when I said Wellborn Jack, Shreveport, Louisiana, they asked me if I was any kin to Patrick Jack and Captain James Jack. And I said, I sure am. I'm a direct descendant. I'm telling you, they just welcomed us with open arms. We had the greatest time going.
I'll be darned. Tell us about your law school.
Well, the law school, this was my situation now. The Depression had hit, and I didn't have any money. The judges didn't have a widow's pension then. As a matter of fact, the only people who had a pension then was judges, and that was when they were about 70 or 75 or something. And Daddy died early. He died, and he had endocarditis. That's an infection in the line of your heart, and he died when he was 48. So that was that. And you wanted me.
And how did you get out to that law school?
Oh, out there. Well, I didn't know. I had a cousin out there. And
out there being California?
Yeah, in Los Angeles. William S. McGee from Mansfield, and his wife. And cousin Doc, that's a nickname, Doc, he wasn't a doctor. He worked for an oil supply company. It was nationwide. And so I went out there a year before I went to law school with Mr. Daniel Scarborough. You remember, he was a lawyer back then, and his son. And I drove out there and spent 2 weeks. They went out there every summer. And so while I was there, I stayed out at my cousin's house. And so I liked it out there, and I decided I'd go to law school there.
Where did you go to school?
University of Southern California Law School.
So you start undergraduate school on the East Coast of North Carolina, and you start law school on the West Coast.
I had 2 years at the University of North Carolina.
And 2 years at the University of Southern California.
Right. And I have
you then came home, and because I know for a fact that your degree is from Tulane.
That's right, my law school. Now, what happened there, I couldn't go back out there. My mother was real ill, and Whitfield, who had been going to Yale Law School, agreed his second year, which would be my third year, he would go on, and I would come on back here.
So Whitfield is your older brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
That I'd come back here instead of going back and graduating from Southern Cal, and I'd just go on and
so your mother's, because of your mother's illness, you came back to Louisiana and finished your law school at Tulane?
The reason I went to Tulane cost more than LSU, but the thing was, your trains, I could catch a train on Friday, no Saturday class, I could catch a train on Friday night, see, down there, and get in here at 7 in the morning and come on out the house, and I could go back on the train Sunday night, see.
You could spend the weekend at home?
That's right.
What's the matter? The trains didn't stop in Baton Rouge at that time?
No, the crossing of the river was different through the schedule.
They had a major north-south train running from New Orleans to Chicago?
No, from New Orleans to Shreveport.
And then continue on, though?
Oh, I don't know where it went. Yeah.
But you had it a regular route. And now, you graduated from Tulane in what year?
1932.
And began the practice of law here in Shreveport?
August the 2nd, 1932.
With whom?
My brother, Whitfield.
I want to ask you...
Jack and Jack.
Jack and Jack. Mm-hmm. And looking at the books, you and later the gentleman that I was were partner with, associate, and then a partner,
right.
Whitfield, y'all were law partners until about the time of the war when Whit went service.
The reason before. We dissolved in 1940.
Just shortly before he went back in.
We're the greatest of friends, but he said if I wanted to be in the legislature and I got elected to it, we'd dissolve.
All right.
So the war had nothing to do with it.
I see. He hadn't yet been called back into the service. He's a graduate of the military academy.
Oh yeah, he's a graduate of West Point.
West Point. And so Jack and Jack practiced law during the 30s together. And
started August 2nd, 32.
And other than a short period that you practiced with your son, you've been a solo practitioner all these years.
Now, my son and I practiced, and then we took in two Carey brothers for a short
period of time. The Careys practiced with you. But largely you've practiced law as a solo practitioner.
That's right.
Now let's take it back to August of 1932. And let me see if this story is true or not. You recall your big fees you made that month?
Let me tell you. August 2nd, 32. The first month, Whitfield and I, my partner, took in $2.
$2?
Those big $1 bills they had then. Now, that was for writing written opinion of all the fishing laws and commercial fishing laws in Louisiana, in effect.
You recall who the client was?
Yeah, Harry Leeds.
He had the dock?
Huh?
The fish dock?
No, he was a commercial fisherman.
Commercial fisherman.
And he went to high school with both of us.
$2.
$2. The second, we took in $15.
You went on, so by September now, you tripled, 700% increase.
Yeah. Then the third month took in 30.
Did y'all divide it equal?
We didn't take any of that first one. We thought we'd keep it as a souvenir. Well, I took my dollar. You could go to the roof garden to dance on the Washington or the Erie side for $1. And that's where my dollar went.
You spent your dollar.
Yeah.
You didn't frame it. You don't have it today.
No.
You spent it.
No.
Did Whit keep his?
I don't know. I'm sure he spent it because he's always spent money.
I've heard another story about, and I'm not. You see, I've got to be careful with these because my source is your older brother, and he's sometimes brothers will exaggerate.
That's right.
But I'm told of a story, and I'll just give you a little lead. You tell me because I don't want to give you a leading question. You see, about getting tamales for a legal fee.
Yeah.
Any truth to that?
There was a Cecil Morgan when he was elected judge. He had been our star boarder. See, Daddy died when I was in the sophomore in high school. Now, Cecil Morgan was practicing law here. He was from Baton Rouge. He was, so what Cecil did, he went on the bench, and he let us have all of his clients and different things. Now, one of the things that obligated us was there were 4 Mexicans here named Costello. They had come from Mexico to Dallas, and during World War II, they all 4 volunteered to serve, and they served overseas. So the American Red Cross here looked after them when they got back, and that's why that comes in. Now, the Costellos sold hot tamales here. They had a little stand on a thing down on the corner of Kings Highway and St. Vincent's and the Fairfield. And one named Jesse Costello and one named Henry Costello. So I don't know how Whit got out of it, but then Cecil told us when we took over what price, he didn't have a big one, you know, and that we'd have to look after the Costellos.
That was that was your quid pro quo for some of the good
that's right. So I'd look after them. Now, Judge Barnett was a juvenile judge.
This is Judge Chris Barnett's father.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And he was that, and one of his boys named Monkey Barnett, that was his nickname, and I used to double date. Well, Judge, one of the Costellos, I think it was Henry, he had was keeping a woman, sleeping with her on the Saturday night, the weekend. So Judge Barnett told me that I was defending him, see. So he told me in juvenile court, because Henry had these children, and it was violation of the law, you know, contributing delinquency of a juvenile.
Oh, the fact that he was having this relationship with this
woman in there.
Okay.
So what the judge did, he told me, he said, now, I'm not going to put Henry in jail, providing you go out there each Saturday night, said you and his son, we all call Monkey, y'all go to, you know, to the roof garden, and you go out there at the intermission, which was at about 10:30, and you can carry your dates with you, and Monkey would drive around while I went in there and searched the house to be sure that woman wasn't there.
You were doing this pursuant to an oral court order?
That's right.
All right. Things were a little different then.
That's right. And also,
now, as a consequence of doing this fine work for the Costellos, you earned credits that were redeemed in tamales.
well, yeah, we not only that, we got them out of a lot of trouble. They were always, one of the other things was one time the other Costello, that was, the first one was Henry, that one was Jesse, and I remember Jesse was out in West End, and he was drunk. They loved liquor, those 4 Mexicans. And he just, only what was, he just urinated on the sidewalk on a Saturday afternoon. And they had him in court for that. So
City court, I take it.
City court. Judge Samuels was the judge.
Oh, all right.
So he always, when he got up on that bench, what he'd do, he'd look around out in the audience to see who was there and all. He was a great politician on being reelected. So Judge Samuels looked out there, and who should he see out in the audience but Mrs. Andrew Quabies. Now, her husband founded the First National Bank and was a very beloved man and prominent and all. And Mrs. Chisholm, who was equally prominent, I forgot what her husband was, sitting out there. So he jumped down off the bench and walked down there and he bowed and he said, I'm David B. Samuels, your city judge, and what are you, shook hands, you ladies doing out here? Anything I can do for you? They said, I forgot which one said, well, Judge Samuels says, we are here, Mr. Jack has us, Wellborn Jack has us summons his character witnesses for Costello. And he's a good character, and that's what we're here to testify. He said, oh, you ladies, you're not going to have to testify at all, said. I'll take your word for it. You're both of good character. If you got on that stand, you'd testify that he was a good character and honest man and all that stuff. You know, we went through it in detail. And so he said, fine. Well, then when they got on with it, arguments, of course, it was argued. And
I take it they didn't have to testify.
No, they didn't testify.
Oh, no, that was over with.
Judge Samuels gave a very short opinion, and he said now he didn't want to hurt the prosecution witnesses' feelings, you know. So he said, now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find Costello not guilty. And said, you behave from now on. He said, that don't mean that I don't believe the prosecution witnesses. It's just simply this, that you have to balance these things and equalize them, and you can have a person found not guilty, but you can still not disbelieve in the other. But you've got that that just does that to it. And he came out, and the officer was just sitting up there laughing. Everybody was taking it easy.
He was a colorful character.
He was very colorful.
Now, you went into the legislature in 1940 and stayed until 64.
That's right.
And then you served after that for
24 years.
For 12 years more in the police jury in Caddo Parish.
Police jury, and then I was elected delegate to the Constitutional Convention. You know, it started in '73 and ended up in February, I believe, of '74.
It was the new Constitution was effective in 1974.
That's right.
Yes. Tell us about the time you paid a fortune teller to help you find a murderer, and how did that come to be? The Bass case.
Oh, yeah. The B.A. Bass case, he was charged with killing his son. That's probably the longest criminal trial in state court here. I think it lasted 29 days. And that was, you'd start at 9:30 in the morning, and you'd run till noon and start up the hour, and then you'd run till 5 and come back and run from about 7 to 10. And so on Mr. B.A. Bass, you want to know what about him on it?
Yeah, I was told that you had some help from us.
Now, here's what I did. There was no eyewitness to the killing. People heard the shot and they found the boy dead and all that. I'm not going all that. So it's just a question of who killed Dan Bass. Someday I'm going to write a book called on that, and it's going to be labeled Who Killed Dan Bass. So anyway, what they did was, what'd you ask?
The soothsayer, the fortune teller.
I drew a cycle with out of half a mile from the Bass home, made a circle on a map. And I went by and saw everybody in that area to see if you could find somebody who knew something.
Just good investigation.
Right. And I did find one witness to help some, but we still got convicted. But on Dan Bass, one of the people I ran into said, Miss Jack said, I know a woman can tell you who killed Dan Bass. Well, I said, boy, that's
Well,
good.
that
I'll
sounded
go
good.
see, you know.
That sounded good.
Yeah. So gave me the address. And it's on Wallace Street out there, which was black houses, niggers, as they called them then. And so I rang the bell. And this tall, I call them black woman instead of niggers like they did then. They'd prefer that. This tall black woman, she must have been 6'2", came to the door. She had on a long white dress and had on wings, white wings on her shoulder, and some kind of tall hat. And she had been moving things around till she got to the door. And so I said, I'm Wellborn Jack. I'm an attorney at law, and I'm defending Mr. Bass, B.A. Bass, charged with killing his son. And I told her about drawing that circle and showed her that. And I said, what I want to do. So someone told me that you could tell me who killed Dan Bass. And
What was her response to that?
she said, yes, I can tell you. So well, I saw all that garb. I didn't take long for me to know she's going to try to be a fortune teller. But she might really know it, so I was going along with it, see. So we went into a little room there, and she had a big old globe thing.
Crystal ball.
Crystal ball, you look in, and we sat there, and she said, you'll have to put a dollar bill in this box she had there. I just dropped it. It was a cigar box.
That would clear up the ball. You could see clear.
Yeah. So I looked in there. She says, I see a man. Said, he's fading away. Mr. Jack says, put $2 in. So I did, and he says, he's coming this way, he's coming this way. He says, put 5 in. So I put in a 5, and I think I finally, she said, it's fading away, and I said, what I do now? And I ain't got but $1 more. Said, well, keep it. Says, he's fading in the distance. Says, we don't know.
He's gone.
But
he never quite turned, and so she could get a fix on
So
him.
we didn't do that.
Your practice was, you did a great deal of criminal defense work.
Criminal and damage suits.
And then plaintiff has
Pardon board and parole board, getting people out the penitentiary.
That's been the bulk of your practice.
Right, right.
Co-
Still is.
Some of the cases that come to mind when you think about the interesting cases are the ones that had difficult twist in them or unusual twist in them. Besides having these soothsayers tell you who the murderer is.
Yeah. Well, one of them, just briefly, was a fellow, John Boots Davis. He was driving down St. Vincent's, and that was Asphalt Street in those days, and it had been raining, it was slick, and 4 of the lights, the 4 blocks of it didn't have any lights to see, and this boy, it was a Sunday night, and this young boy, about 20, and his fiancée, a year younger, they were walking down the middle of it, and Boots Davis, who they claimed was drunk, ran into them and killed them both. And I believe they called it negligent homicide then. So I was defending him, and it looked like a almost impossible case. And to add to it, one of the worst things, Boots Davis had his red hair, but he had this red face, and he looked like a drunkard, I mean, if I ever saw one.
I mean, his red eyes? And
red eyes, blood vessels were all there. So I went to see a doctor to talk to him, and so what I wind up doing, I get this beautician, and I get this prescription for his eyes that makes him white, you know, the white part, get rid of the red. But it only lasts about an hour, see, and I had to get recesses so I could put some more drops in his eyes. And I went to this beautician. We had represented her in something, I've got to her name, but what I did with her, I got her, the beautician, to paint him up, you know, so you wouldn't see that red face.
Well, what were you trying to demonstrate to the jury?
Well, they would look at that red-eyed man, and when see the police testified he's drunk and it takes gross negligence, and he would be a dead duck. But if you should have seen that job that lady beautician would do on him. He didn't look like no drunk. He looked like a nice little gentleman. But so anyway, we did get him acquitted. It was a 5-man jury.
Who was the judge, you recall?
Judge Stevens.
Judge Stevens, I'm told, was an excellent judge.
Oh, yeah, he's smart. He was a cousin of mine. That don't have anything to do with it. He's crazy about calling me Wellborn. So I get these interruptions, you know, the recess. So about the 4th one or 5th, he told me to come in also and talk to you during that recess. He said, I want to tell you, I know what you're up to. He says, you ain't fooling me, but I ain't going to say nothing about it. That's your own business. And so he had called that recess. And so we got him acquitted.
Well, I take it then you were able to complete the trial, and he was clear-eyed and clear-faced.
Yeah, he got acquitted.
Looked like the cherub that he was.
He would have been convicted otherwise. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm supposed to do the best I can for a crime.
Including little cosmetics.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
One of the worst cases going was the lawyer here. I forgot his name. I think his name was, Newsom. I believe his name was Riku Brewster. He was defending a fellow named Roy C. Swales. Do you remember that killing?
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he killed a tenant's wife. He meant to kill the tenant.
I think we studied this in law school.
You might have. Anyway, what happened, Mr. Swales, he was a mean person. God, he was mean. He, for instance, he was he saw on the 4th of July in this Jew's store in the window an American flag. And he walked in there and cursed him out for having a Jew having an American flag. I'm telling you, that just shows what a mean bird he was. Now, Swales rented 2 big apartment buildings, and he divided them apartments. Now, the lady that he killed, she and her husband rented one of those apartments from the Swales. Now, she was a Mrs. Brown, I remember, and her husband, Mr. Brown. Now, Mr. Brown was a traveling salesman, and what he would do is his wife worked, and as soon as she'd leave in the morning from the apartment, Swales found out what Brown was doing, he'd go get a woman and bed her down in there. And so Swales, in spite of how much he drank and all, he had certain high morals, and when he found out about that, he told Miss Swales, he never talked to the tenant. He told his wife to tell him to be out of that apartment by 6 o'clock. And Mr. Swales, they estimated when, during a trial when we were pleading insanity, they estimated from doctors that he had drunk a 5th of whiskey a day for 50-something years.
Wow.
He was nearly 70 when he was tried for murder.
What did he drink?
What?
What kind of whiskey did he drink? It was
well, there was bootleg in those days.
Oh, okay. Those White Lightning.
Yeah. So Mr. Swales, he just was a horrible kind of person. Well, Jeter, or whoever it was, Newsom, on it, well, he told me just to do the best I could for him. Well, Swales got the death penalty. And that's the first and only man I ever had that got the death penalty. And that really feels funny when your client gets a death penalty. See,
Funny's an
I was an expert in insanity. there ain't no doubt he was insane, but the jury just wasn't going to listen to it.
What did the Supreme Court do with it?
Well, they affirmed it, and it just looked like he was going to go on and get killed. And so what we did with Swales, I got the pardon board to hear it, and then the pardon board, turned him down. And so it wasn't much longer. No, the pardon board, beg your pardon, they didn't turn him down. The pardon board then was made up of the three members: the Attorney General, the judge that sentenced you, and the Lieutenant Governor. And when we argued trying to get it cut to life, sentence.
You needed two of those to concur in order for the governor to act.
Yeah, and then I'd have to have the governor. So on the two, what we did, we got everybody out of the room. I asked them that. I was in the legislature then, not that they would favor me for it, but I mean they would listen to me good. I said, what I want is all the ladies out. I want to let my hair down. We're going to just talk this thing back and forth and that and take it up last in the day. So we did. So we, the trial judge was my fishing buddy, Pops Turner, you know, as district attorney, and who was let's see, he was the judge there.
He was the sentencing judge.
Yeah, and he was against him and all the way through. You can't blame him. And then the next one was the Lieutenant Governor was there, and then
Attorney General. What year would this have been?
Lord, I don't remember.
In the 40s or 50s? Well, it had to be in the 50s if it's Pops Turner.
Yeah,
or in the early
it
60s.
was, yeah.
Early 60s.
Well, anyway, so there was 1-1, and the other one, I forgot his name now. He said, "What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back home and think this thing over, and then I'm going to cast my vote." So I asked him, I forget his name now, I said, "Now, I don't want to make you mad, but it's my duty. I'm going to call you every day at your office and Saturday at your home to see if you've come to an conclusion what you're going to vote, except I won't call on Sunday." He said, "No, I won't be mad at all. That's the way it's supposed to be." So I called him for 2 weeks. On a Friday, I called him. He hadn't made his mind up. Well, I didn't call on Saturday. I beg your pardon. I just called weekdays. So, but the next day on Saturday, he called me at my office. Said, "I've been praying over this thing. I'm going to vote to commute it to life." And so...
And the governor commuted it.
Yeah, and then the governor signed it. Now, what happened, old Swales, he really was crazy, I mean, but it just, jury wouldn't buy that, you know.
Did he spend the rest of his life in jail?
Yeah, spent the rest of his life. Now, here's right there. This is true and all. So, one day, Swales' wife called me from Baton Rouge. She moved down to Baton Rouge and got an apartment so she could go up to Angola to see him. That was the only pen then. So she told me, said, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Ahmed Rayburn horse funeral parlor in Baton Rouge, Mr. Swales was found dead early this morning. He'd had a heart attack and died. Now, here's the thing. I shouldn't have pulled this joke. But so he had, while he would call Judge Galloway, who I believe was the district attorney then, and tell him he's going to come up there and, no, it was, who took Judge Galloway's place?
Ed Bloor.
Ed Bloor. Called Ed Bloor and tell him he's going to kill him, and he'd call Jeter, that was the lawyer that got me in with him, and tell him. And the only one that he liked was me. And so I thought I'd have some fun with blowing them. So I wasn't going to play no joke on the prosecutor, though. I mean, the judge. I believe, I'm not sure who was the judge. But anyway, Blower was the prosecutor. So I called him, but he'd gone to lunch. So I called on Jeter. And I told him, I said, Jeter, I want to let you know Mr. Swales is not in Angola anymore. He said, oh, my God, has he escaped? I said, well, you heard me. He ain't out there. And I said, where is he? I said, last I heard of him, he's in Baton Rouge. He said, oh, my God. Wellman said, he's going to come up here and kill us. I said, he ain't going to kill me. He likes me. He says, yeah, but says he sure hates me. I said, he sure does. He won't speak to you hardly, and if he does, it's mean. And the boy, he just about to have a fit. So I could almost hear his heartbeat. So I said, that's over the phone. I said, I'm just joking with you. Boy, he was relieved. So Swales, that was the end of him.
Tell us about the lawyering in the 30s and 40s. What was it like? Tell us some of the names of some of the fine lawyers in this area that come to mind.
I was listening to Lockett a few minutes ago, and he named a world of them now.
Shreveport had more than its share of good lawyers.
They had. Everybody was so polite to the others. I noticed that they didn't. They were good.
You say that like as if that's different from the way it is now.
Well, I don't know. They've got they're always polite as a whole, but it was just a different ball game. There wasn't so many of them. And
tell us about the judges of that period.
Oh, they were fine. They were fine. They were Judge Mills and Bell and Stevens, and then when they had a fourth one, after I'd been practicing a few years, elected Cecil Morgan.
This is later Dean Morgan at LSU. I mean Tulane. This is the same Cecil Morgan who went then with an oil company, and then after he retired from the oil company, went to Tulane as dean for a few years.
And after my father died, Cecil came up here to practice, and we knew the family, and he was a star boarder. He boarded out at our house.
Where have you had your offices over the years, different places?
Well, the first one was in the Riku Brewster building, 222 Riku Brewster. And then I've had it in the Slattery building, and one time in the old commercial building, and then we down at 101 Milam Street now.
During the 30s and 40s, when you first started practicing, the first 10 or 15 years, were most of the lawyers downtown?
Oh, yeah. You didn't have any neighborhood lawyers in those days.
In the main buildings downtown? That was a typical practice.
As a matter of fact, when I started practicing, there's only 3 buildings a lawyer would be in downtown.
And those 3 were what?
That was the Slattery building, the Riku Brewster building, and the Lane building.
And any reason for that?
Yeah, you would just look down upon. That's a peculiar thing. The old commercial was a nice-looking building. But when we started, now, Whit had been off to West Point, and he wouldn't know how to go about renting office, so he asked me to do all that. So I went first to Mr. Dennis Riku, who was owner of Riku Brewster building, and I talked to him. He had been a good friend of my father, who died when I was a sophomore in high school. And he told me this. He said, I told him, I said, we're just interested in being in the Riku Brewster, the Slattery, or the Giddens Lane, they call it, the Lane building now. Yeah. And he said, and I said, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk to you and talk to either Mr. Giddens or Mr. Lane, and then go over and talk to one of the Slattery brothers.
What kind of rent would you pay for a law office?
Well, I'm going to tell you. So I told him, I said, now what we're going to do, these are requirements we're going to have. Number one, the rent's going to be, first month's rent be payable at the end of the month, and all other rent payable at the end of the month. Now, who will give us the most? I said, I know already the offices that we want, got a weight room and 2 private offices. And all 3 buildings charge the same, $30 a month, the same
For
footage.
3 rooms?
Yeah, yeah. And so that's that part, and that $30 a month. And I said, now, what will you give? He said, let me tell you what you do. He said, you go over there to the Giddens Lane. Don't see Mr. Lane. Said he's a rough talker. See Mr. Giddens. And then you go to the slattery. And then you come to me. And what you get the most free rents, month's rent, I'll give 1 additional rent. The price was going to be the same. So I went to Mr. Lane, and he offered us 1 month, and the second month, like, would be payable at the end of the month. Then we went to the slattery, and it was 2 months free, and the second one, those payable at the end of it. Then so when it came over to Mr. Riku, he gave us 1 more, so it made 3 months free rent, and all of them payable at the end of it. So we didn't pay any rent till the end of 4 months.
These buildings you're naming the people, and we say Rico Brewster, there was a Mr. Rico, and there was Mr. Brewster, and they were involved with the building.
Yeah, well, I don't know about what Brewster, I never heard of, saw it, but it was called Rico Brewster.
And Giddens Lane, there was a Giddens, there was a Lane, they were involved with the building.
Yeah, I talked to Mr.
And
Charlie
Slattery,
Lane.
was there a Slattery involved with
Yeah. One of those sliders, I don't know if the one I talked to just died about 10 years ago. He lived to be old as heck.
Does any case during this 56 years, does any case stand out as the most disappointing or the most exciting?
Well, I don't want to brag, but
Please brag.
I didn't have any disappointing cases.
Never lost a case?
Well, very few. And, I don't call losing swales when you get a man that gets the electric chair and you finally get it, commuted to life.
No, the bottom line on that
Well,
is a successful effort.
Yeah. It just was.
Well, a loss is not if it's a criminal case. A loss is not if your client is convicted. A loss is when the result is not what it ought to be. When a client who's not guilty is convicted.
The best way I can say, of all the cases that I've handled, civil and criminal, of course, most civil cases, 95% of them get settled.
Sure.
But most all of them, it was just, I've lost 3 cases that I could think of, and in all 3 of those, the person lied to me.
Well, I'm told that you had a hard and fast rule
I've got it.
with clients
That's right.
about it.
Most people in a criminal case if they tell you the truth, this may not be a legal excuse, but something to help by telling the truth. But people can forgive you for certain things, but the one thing people can't forgive you for is being a liar. Now, I found this early in my practice to try to get that, because I had certain of them to lie 3 in the whole length of time.
Now, I understood that you had a practice once you were hired by a client, a certain thing you did, and
I tell them this now. The way I'm going to want to do, you've been calling me Mr. Jack. Now you've employed me. This may sound corny, but it was. I said, your lawyer is supposed to be your best friend. Now, I'm your lawyer. So from that, and you wouldn't call your best friend Mr. you'd call him by his first name, or if he has a nickname, that. So you start calling me Wellborn. And you know it
Did
worked.
they do it?
Yeah. Now, I again explained to him about that truth business.
Don't lie to me.
Don't tell me any lie. Just give me the truth. And that, I think, is, you see, if your man is lying to you, and that, usually the truth's going out. And the next thing is, you might can work out something a whole lot better, and you find out all this stuff, and it just worked for me.
You had a wide variety of experience. At one time, you represented the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah.
In federal court.
It's just meant to make a Xerox copy of that book that man wrote about me on it. Yeah, that was when Jack Gremion was charged in federal court with contempt of court, and you know they can really send you up in that. And there's going to be tried for Shelby Hunter. And
what had he done allegedly?
Well, I'm going to tell you. So Jack Gremion phoned a lot of district attorneys to come down there, and me to come down to his office in New Orleans and talk, to make suggestions to go about this defense and who was going to defend him. So certain DAs they were talking about, they could do this, that, and the other, and that would get him off. So when it came my time, I said to Jack Gremion, see, I'd known him well, you know. I said, there's not any defense to it if it's like what the paper said. Let me ask you this, Jack. I understand that on this contempt thing, you just put that law book down at council table, said, I've heard enough, and you walked out that door.
During the course of a proceeding, he
Then
just said, I've heard enough, and is this what
when
he
you walked out that door and the plus slamming that book down and leaving without getting permission of the court, you were in contempt of court. Well, all the DAs hadn't stopped to think that. I don't know why. They were trying to figure out this, that, and the other. And that is that.
Sure.
So I went on in defending him. Of course, I told Shelby Hunter, who was had served in the legislature with me and was a federal judge then on this. I told him that he knew of the hardships of those things, and I said, you remember, Your Honor, when you were in the legislature with me, how you, and I loved to go to the Texas League ball games. We left the legislature one Friday. The other two representatives were going to be there, but they didn't. They went to Biloxi, and you and I went out to the doubleheader up there. And I said, Jack Gremion is your baseball man, and you know what I'm talking about. And he said, all right, what's that, Mr. Jack? I said, well, Jack Gremion, he had been in case after federal case. You remember how they were.
Back to back.
Hundreds of them, and I said back to back. And he'd go to court and do his best, and he never won a one of them. And it just ran him wild. And there he was trying another. I said, it'd be just like if you were a manager of a baseball team in the Texas League, Your Honor. I couldn't ought to keep grinning. I said, suppose you had been managing for 3 seasons and hadn't